Hey everyone, this is Max from CGMax7, and in this tutorial we're going to create this scene from scratch. Now this is going to be an intermediate tutorial, so I guess you're having some experience with 3ds Max and Alchemist. However, I'm going to explain these things step by step, so let's get started. I also like to mention that I'm running an online course on Skype. The details will be mentioned in the description below. You can see all the courses, and if you want to join, you can contact me on Skype. Alright, here we are. So we're going to start with the Substance Alchemist, and it's for PBR texturing and materials, which allow you to create materials and textures in it. And in order to get started, we need to click on Create New, and we're going to put the project name, let's say ground, and hit enter. And when I just hold down Alt and click, I can see this mesh over here, which allow me to see in 360. And if I hold down Alt middle mouse, I can pan it. If I hold down Alt right click, I can zoom in and out, or I can use my mouse scroll wheel. So in order to make a texture over here, what we need to do is bring up the texture. So I'm just going to click over here, and this is my texture which I'm going to use. Now I can use drag and drop directly, but you need to make sure that you are in create mode so we can create our own material. And I'm just going to drag it and drop it over here, and all of a sudden I get this three windows pop up which says bitmap to material, multi-angle to material, or use as bitmap. Well, we need to make this texture as a material, so I'm going to click over here and just hit OK, and all of a sudden we get something like this. And after that we can go further with this. So we have a bunch of options. First, I wanted to go to base material and make sure it's on something like, let's say, marble granite. Okay, maybe marble granite. And then if I go to bitmap to materials, we have a bunch of options over here. Surface type, it's dielectric, which needs to be over here. You don't want to use metallic. If you have something more metallic, you can use this, but I'm going to keep it dielectric. And we have a surface scale, and this allows you to change the light, and actually it's more like a surface, which you can make it up or down. You can say the light is kind of changing with this one. And obviously the height. Now it's actually changing the desolation, or let me show you. Just enable the shadows over here. You can on and off with the shadows. And what I do is decrease my displacement, and it's okay about the quality. We can keep it around 0.25. There we go. And if I change the surface scale, it's actually how this surface scale is reacting with this three things. So this is more like a global controller of these three parameters, and with this one you can actually change the the properties of these three parameters. So this is how it's actually working. So we're going to keep it around 99, maybe height scale around 9.4, and I'm going to bump up my displacement map. Let's go over here and let's bring displacement amplitude around 0.25. There we go. Great. Now we can play with the height as well. So I'm going to use mix, and I'm going to use method balance a little bit up, because I want to more like a bumpy noise over here. So I think I go around maybe almost like this. Now you have these three options which allow you to change the height detail. So if you want to change the large details, you can change with this. So I think I'll maybe 24, and this is for the medium height. I'm going to bring it down, and this is for small heights, or you can say small details, which allows you to raise up your geometry. Now I'm not going to play with the roughness, I'm just going to keep it off, but you can play with this around and find something interesting. So I'm going to grab this. Now we can go further, and we can actually use these adjustment or filters, or you can come over here, filters. You have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 categories which allow you to play with this. So we can start with the weathering, but before that we need to finalize this more like a texture. It's kind of a glowing right now. So what we can do is can go with the delighter, and I'm going to just click and drag, and it's actually equalize the light from every angle. So it just takes a little bit of time to calculate all the image, and there we go. Now it's actually calculated all the light values, and what it did, it equalized all the light from every angle. So if I have a certain situations where I'm going to bring up some lights on it, and I don't want the shadows, the contrast areas, you can use the delighter. So it allows you to, you know, allows you to create your composition in the 3D application like 3ds Max Maya. So you're not dependent on the image right now. So once you get the delighter, then I can go further like weathering. And with the weathering over here, we have some couple of options like rust and dust and dirt. I'm going to play with the dirt and just drag it on. There we go. Now immediately you see the dirt is kind of a scratchy way, and that is perfectly fine. It's happening because of the tiling, I guess. So I might need to change the tiling, but before that I'm just going to play with the quantity and maybe just bring it a little bit down, maybe a little bit volume, and maybe the opacity, I think a little bit. There we go. We can even play with the, let's say, the dust and drop it over here, so it's more like a sand dust over here, and we can bring down the quantity, I guess. There we go. Maybe the dust opacity, so beneath there is a dirt and it will be pop out. So I think I don't need to change the tiling of the dirt. I think it's perfectly fine, because these are the procedural textures which tileables as much as you want. And then we have the water. We can just drag and drop over here, and there you go. It's looking nice. Now you can see there's some kind of a lighting effects going on, and that is known as IBL. IBL stands for image-based lighting. Now there's a image is over here. If I go to my view settings, and if I go to environment, and these are the images which is doing the magic over here. So if I hold on shift and right click, I can rotate this light. If you wanted to turn it on, you can use as visible, and you can, you know, turn on this HDRI which is using right now. You can even load your environment as well if you want. You can download an HDRI and you can load over here. I'm going to keep it off right now. And for this water, we need to change these parameters over here. So the water level is too high. I think I'm going to bring it down a little bit. There we go. Maybe just a bit. There you go. We can also bump up the displays if we want. Maybe guess 33, I guess is fine. That's fine. There we go. We can go a little bit more further if we want. We have a splatter, oxidine. Let's try oxidine over here, and it looked like more like a grass over here, or not even grass, but like dead leaves, you can say. However, I'm going to decrease the curvature strength over here, and it will calculate. Takes a little bit of time. Maybe I'm going to decrease the spreading because it's spread around all the way up. I'm going to keep it light as much as possible. Now I can use this if I want, or if I want to remove this, I can just select this and, you know, just click on this dustbin icon and it's gone. Let's keep it this way. I think I like this one. You have more options over here. You can play with them. However, now we need to export this file. So in order to export, we can click over here on the export, and we can export this current view. And over here you need to make sure some couple of options. Since we're not using the metallic and opacity, I'm going to use this base color, normal, roughness, height, ambient occlusion, and specular level. The resolution is going to be 4K, and the format, I generally play with the SBS or SBR are good options. However, PNG, I found it's usable. You can use this SBS and SBSR, but I'm going to stick with PNG right now. I'm going to export this file. So once you give the path, and you can name it over here, whatever you name like it. However, I'm going to keep it new tree, and then you're going to hit export, and it will start exporting your file. It says 9 maps, and once it's done, we're going to jump in 3ds Max. Alright, now we are in 3ds Max, and we can start with a plane. So let's create a plane. Click and drag to view, and make sure it's centered to grid. Hit J, and maybe it's just a little bit scale it down. I'm going to hit M for material. There we go. Just right click over here and rename with ground. And let's create a new material. I'm going to hit right click and material, Vray, and we're going to create Vray material. There we go. I'm going to assign this material on this object, and what I can do is diffuse and click and create a bitmap over here, or you can do is just come up over here, the textures which we created, these are over here, and you can just drag and drop over here, and then you can use them. However, I'm going to just drag and drop all of them. Let it reload up. There we go. And there we go. I'm going to minimize and just creating some space over here. So we need to connect these materials with this material. So I'm going to start with the color, and this is my, if you just double click, you can turn on this property over here. I'm going to keep this as separate ambient occlusion and the color diffuse map. This will be our height map, which we're going to plug in displacement. This will be our normal, and this will be our roughness. Let's connect the roughness first. So here we go. Let me bring it over here. This will be our specular. Generally, I connect this with the reflect And for the normal, what we need to do is, because this normal is not able to read in the VR, so we need to convert this in the kind of it deducts actual normal image into the VR. So what I can do is right click and go to maps, Vray maps, and we have something called Vray normal map, and we can plug this in normal map, and then we can connect with bump map. Now this one is the height map, which I'm going to connect with displacement. And you can see all of a sudden geometry gets changed. However, it's not showing the preview. I'm not sure about that. But what I need to do is double click on this material and just go down. And you can change the height of the displacement from over here. However, I'm going to keep it 100 right now. And I'm also going to click on this show shaded material in viewport. And once I turn it on, it becomes red and blue. Now these two, for these ones, I'm going to right click and just go to maps, general, and let's go to composite. Now this works just like Photoshop. So if I just double click over here, and this is the first layer, and I'm going to connect the diffuse, or maybe the color, I'm going to connect with the layer 1. And if I click on this icon, I'm going to add a new layer over here, and I'm going to connect with this layer 2. Now you can see it's right now showing me this ambient occlusion. In order to blend this both, you can do multiply, and in ambient occlusion the white values will be gone, but the black values will be shown as the darker over here, as you can see over here. So the shadows get more crisp and sharper, more darker and better. So I'm just going to move it back and connect with this diffuse, and you can see the preview over here. And what I'm going to do is, actually I'm going to create an environment because we have no light over here. So in order to create the environment, I'm going to hit M, right click, create new, and let's say HDRI, hit enter. And what I'm going to do is right click, and I'm going to go maps and Vray HDRI, double click, and give the path. And actually let me just go to, let's go over here, and I have two environments which I can use. So I'm going to use this, hit open, and you can see the environment is over here. However, it's perfectly not showing me the correct environment. So what I can do is change the mapping type to something like spherical, and now it's the correct value. Now we need a light to connect the environment. So I'm going to click on this Vray dome light and just click over here, and you can click anywhere because it this Vray dome light is emitting the light in 360. So it doesn't matter where is the placement. However, we need to connect this HDRI to the Vray dome light. So I'm going to click on the modifier, and I'm just going to click this button and drop it on no maps, and make sure it's on instance. So what I'm going to change is over here. These changes will be in the the changes will be go as well in Vray dome light. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to actually just maybe get it down a little bit so we have enough room over here. There you go. Now before we jump into rendering or turn on the renderings, I need to make some few settings with the renders. So if I click on this render setup, and I'm going to change the output size something like HDTV 9020 by 1080 force two-sided, click on GI, which is the global animation, and I'm going to turn on ambient occlusion over here, and yeah, we are good to go. Now in Vray, you have some basic settings that you can use over here if you click on this icon, and these are quick let's say render setups. So I'm just going to click on interior, and I found this pretty useful and pretty decent lighting with this one, so I generally use this. You can experiment with the exteriors. I don't recommend to VFX and studio setups, but you can play with exterior or interior, it's up to you completely. And we need to make sure our exposure value, so in order to go to exposure value, you can go to rendering, and you have environment or exposure control. Both are the same controllers, or you can hit the 8 key, which is the shortcut. So just click over here and make sure my exposure is Vray exposure control. I generally don't use the photographic. I'm going to stick with EV, and this value actually works like this. The more you increase the value, the light becomes darker, and more you decrease the value, the light becomes more brighter. So you can play around with your lighting, and I'm going to stick with the right now 0, and let's see what comes out. So if you go to standard, you can turn on Vray IPR, which allows you to see the real-time lighting over here, and you can see that it's coming pretty nicely. However, the light is not enough, so what we can do is we have 3 options. We can increase the intensity, the multiplier, the light intensity, we can bump it up, but what I generally use is M. If I hit M, go to my materials and come on Vray HDRI, and I can increase this value, let's say 5, and you can see the light is coming out. You can even render put the value of 5 and render multiply, and we have a pretty decent nice value over here. Now I'm just going to close this, and I'm just going to select the light, and what I can do is turn off the background. So if I go to options and click on invisible, and there we go, the light is still emitting, but the background is gone. Okay, now I'm going to turn off this Vray IPR for right now, because we are not sure this is the perfect image projecting, or the UVs are perfectly aligned with this. So what I can do is go to my modifier and just make sure the plane is selected, and then I can click on Uvw Map, and I can go to bitmap fit, and I can select this image, just click on it. So we have this textures over here, and you can pick any one because we just need the size. So I'm going to hit open, and this is the actual size of this image. So you can see my image is a little bit small, so what I can do is click on plane and make sure this button is on. It's show end result, and after that we can maybe width, and I can hit F4 to see the wireframe, and I'm going to right click over here and right click over here, maybe just a little bit. Now this is the good thing about it, it's tileable. You can see these are all textures are tileable, so I'm going to keep it around almost here, and let's confirm it's a little small. I think I'm going to increase a little bit more, then we can see it. Let's perfectly match it, maybe just a little bit with the length, and there we go. I'm going to turn off the grid by hitting G, and you can do another render, and you can see it's coming out nicely. We have the water over here. However, I still think this is not the realistic water. So in order to create a realistic water, what you can do is Now this is optional if you want to use this water or you want to use your own water. So I'm going to hit M, and you can use this in the ground actually. So I'm going to right click and go to Materials, Vray, and Vray MTL, and just double click over here. And the color doesn't matter right now. I'm going to keep it black for right now. And I'm going to turn on the reflect. And reflect. So you can see it's completely transparent right now. Reflects actually reflects the lighting on the material, and refracts, it's more like a transparency or opacity. Now if you wanted to see the ball, you can click on this show background preview, and it's actually not showing the ball, but just maybe I'm going to play with the glossiness so we can see the highlights. So maybe 0.5, and let's see. I'm also going to change the IOR, which is index of reflection. So I'm going to use 1.3. I think I'll try with 381. And this is actually for the water index of reflection. You can Google it and find whatever suits for you. And maybe diffuse, I need to put it more black, all the way black. If I just bring it up, it doesn't show because obviously our refract is completely white, and obviously the water is completely transparent. In order to see it, what we can do is, I'm holding down Control, right click, and I'm going to create plane. I'm going to create it like that and pull it a little bit up. I'm just going to apply this material onto this, and I'm going to hit Control A so I can change the wireframe to green to black. There we go. And you can see it's completely opaque right now. Let's see in Vray IPR. You can see something is coming up over here. You can even create a box if you want, and you can decrease the value if you want, and you can play with the IOR. Let's say 1.831. try that, and this looks nice, and you can see how this ball and the water is coming out actually. There we go. You can even bring it down if you want. Maybe something like this. There we go. And once I got this, and again, in order to create more and more realistic water, you need to play with the IOR to find the correct value for the water, and then you can play with that. You can even play with the glossiness, 0.5. Let's try that. But this will more like create a, let's say, frosted glass or something like this. So I'm just going to keep it 1 right now. Maybe I'm going to change the glossiness. Let's try 0.3. It's important to keep playing with the values. Maybe 0.5 or maybe 0.8. More like a completely shine water, you can say that. Now this allows you to blend the completely clean water with the dirt in it. You can see that. So textures is allowing you to show the dirts, and water, obviously it's the clean. Now I'm going to click on Vray IPR and close this, close this. We can add some objects in it. you can download from the net. I have some couple of objects over here. So what I'm going to do is just drag it and drop it over here and merge file. Hit W, bring it to side. First thing I want to make sure it's in the group. So I can say grass. I'm going to hit M and create a new scene, grass, and right click, material, Vray material. Or actually what we can do is whatever you bring the objects into the 3D scene, you can pick their materials. So if I click on this picker, and I can see those materials are over here, and actually we need to connect the textures in it. So if I double click over here and click over here, I can connect the textures, or actually I can do the drag and drop, which is the same thing. So this one is 17, just drag and drop. I'm going to delete this one. Actually, let me check. It's on the diffuse. Maybe I can just overwrite that. There we go. I'm just going to click over here and show shaded so we can see it. As you can see, it's coming out nicely. Let's bring the another one. Just drag and drop, merge file, W, bring it out, and let's pick the material. And this one have two material. It has the bump, the diffuse. I don't need the bump right now. I'm just going to keep it diffuse. So there we go. And I'm going to connect with this one. There we go. And show shaded material in viewport. There we go. I'm going to select this one and make sure it's a grass too. There we go. And then I can place it wherever I want it. Maybe somewhere here. Maybe scale it up. Just doing randomly. And there we go. And make sure to rotate them so we can create some variations in it. Maybe a little bit scale. This one goes a little down. There we go. Let's pick this one. Just let me blend them together. Maybe just scale it down. Rotate. Scale it up. Just rotate like that. And one more. Make it tiny. There we go. Now I can set up a camera from the top view. And let's go to create and camera, target camera. Just click and drag out. And if I hit C, I can see through the camera. I'm just going to click on the orbit camera. And I can orbit from over here. Maybe I can zoom in. If I hit Shift F, I can see the frame which is going to be rendered. Maybe just a little bit of it. Like that. You can even increase the perspective. So if we go to modifier, you can change the lens, maybe 15 mm, I guess. Maybe we can change the perspective if you want, like this. A little bit field of view. Right, let's save the file quickly, and I'm going to hit, there we go, and want to make sure grass are coming out nicely. There we go. And then we can go to standard Vray IPR, and we can see how nicely it's coming out.